Worried?
Should we be worried? I don't know, man. Looking at some of the results from the auctions on the last episode, holy cow, things are weird out there. Irrational exuberance was coined by the great Alan Greenspan, and I think there are people on both ends of the spectrum. People are really crazy, really negative, and people are really positive. We're going to get into that. We're going to go over our predictions from the last episode. This is Speed Nerds. The bidding starts right now, I think. Speed Nerds is your YouTube car game show. Yes, it is. Welcome,
boy,
everybody.
We're in trouble.
Are we in trouble?
We're in trouble. Any show that starts with a quote from Alan Greenspan is going to go off the rails right away. Terrible.
I'll say that our good friend Ray Shefska over at Car Edge actually brought it up on one of their episodes fairly recently. And I thought it was kind of, it was actually pretty relevant because things are weird out there, Deep. You look at the market, you can't tell me looking at the results from the last episode that things aren't crazy, right?
Clue.
People are acting irrationally. Some people are spending way too much money on stuff that you're like, what are you doing? And then other people are just freaking out. So I think irrational exuberance by the late, great Alan Greenspan is pretty relevant. So we'll be talking about that. Michael Deeb, welcome to the show. Welcome to you guys, everyone out there in the Nerd Herd. My name is John Polnick. We are live from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas. Michael Deeb over there, I'm pointing the wrong way. He's in San Francisco. We are doing it tonight. It is Sunday night. I don't know, a football game's going on. Who cares? Whatever. We're going to do some car stuff.
Do you know what we have in common with Alabama right now? It's pouring rain here in San Francisco.
Welcome to about the weather. Come on, man.
Welcome to Cars and Cafe evening. You and I usually come off a really big high. We had a fun one with the the inaugural Frunk or Treat with the Porsches lined up with the candy and the kids in costume. My daughter dressed up as Rapunzel. I got to be her sidekick, Pascal the lizard. I dressed up in a huge lizard costume, and everybody thought I was selling insurance. You can, if you figured that joke out, you're smart. But JP, how was your Cars and Coffee? I heard you guys had, I know you don't like talking about the weather, but the great weather ensured that you had a banger of a Cars and Cafe. I just want to thank Sean Manchester, my wife Esther, Yuri and Sahan, and my partner on this endeavor, Eastman Garcia, for producing the first ever Frunk or Treat. How was Cars and Cafe, the original in Vegas?
We had a great time this morning. Thanks for everyone that came out. The weather was absolutely perfect for air-cooled cars, so they were out in droves. The coffee was great. Good Wolf was open and slinging Deos stuff. We had a great time this morning. Everyone was out of there by 10 o'clock, though. It was like everybody wanted to get out and enjoy their beautiful Sunday, so they did. So thanks again. All right, guys, if you are new to the show, welcome. What we do here is we analyze listings on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, P-Car Market, sometimes some other auction sites. We analyze those listings, and based on that analysis, we make predictions on what we think the cars will hammer for. What will happen as a result of these listings? We always start off every episode by... What do? We always start off every episode by reconciling.
Accountability.
Oh, that's right. That's just weird on the internet. I don't know. Maybe it's because we're drinking too much Hippie Sips. That just does weird stuff to our brain. Gotta love Hippie Sips. Shout out to those guys. All right, let's get to it. If you want to play along, you can just watch the show and you can put your bids in the live chat and hang out with the Nerd Herd. You can also see the cars that we're going to be talking about. I get the links in the description below. So, all right, let's get after it. What was the first car that we made a prediction on the last episode, D, before we get to new predictions?
All right, JP, you astutely caught, as an alumni listing on Bring a Trailer, Chef's old modified 1963 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia convertible. Chef, everybody's really good friend, Chef, out in Las Vegas. He was the chef at the Red Rock Country Club, and a complete dyed-in-the-wool air-cooled VW head. And Chef has had this beautiful black convertible with red interior, Fuchs wheels, hot motor, and extraordinary panel gaps and paint and finish and all this stuff. I saw the car once or twice in person. JP, you knew the car way better than I do. Chef hired a photographer through Bring a Trailer to list it a couple of years ago. That photographer did mediocre assets at best, and then JP came in to save the day and take, kind of a new half bucket of photos to round out the listing. And when Chef ran the car a few years ago, he got a really exceptional number, $60,000 at Hammer, where that car sold back in 2023. JP caught this car running for a second time on BAT as an alumni listing out of Oxford, Maryland. So when we reviewed the car, we were kind of a deja vu thing because we knew the car from when Chef owned it. And then we sort of wondered, did it have any chance to get back to that really exceptionally high number that Chef got for the car when he listed it, sort of himself as the guy who owned it and put that car together. And then JP gave him some pretty great assets to really get the car to pop and set itself apart from anything else that would run as a VW on BAT a couple of years ago. JP, when we saw the car running, it did not look like it was doing very good. I think it was at like $19,000.
No, less.
And
it was like 10, buddy. 10. It was $10,000.
And it was going to close.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were covering it on Wednesday evening, the 22nd. The car was going to close today, Sunday, the 26th. So Classic.com tells us that the average selling price of a Ghia convertible from 1963, which is an early Ghia, it does have some unique pieces to it. That number is $28,000. So when we saw the car running at 10 or 11 or whatever it was really low. I thought that if it rallied at all, it would get back to the classic average because I figured that's what buyers would be using to gauge where they should land on the car. So my bid was a plagiarism of Classic's reference number at just $28,000. JP took the over by $2,000, coming in at $29,999. We had Tony Rinzi, YouTube sensation. He joined us remotely as third nerd. His bid coming in below mine at $25,000, stating that he doesn't understand the fervor over old air-cooled Volkswagens. This is a car that didn't really speak to him. And then JB from Hippie Sips was in studio for the second consecutive visit. It was great to have JB in the studio with us. He was at a late addition to the studio, but he didn't come so late as to not throw a bid at this car. He was the high man at $34,000. So JP, I'm going to read the results, but I'm going to let you take it immediately after that. Our car failed to sell at $42,000, which is an exceptionally high number on 10 bids. I'm guessing he probably should have taken that money, but he held out for more, and a post-Hammer bid seems to have been struck for $50,000 even. So the car is now sold at $50,000, which is a truly exceptional number and speaks to the quality of the car. JP, what can you tell us? Because I was really kind of out to lunch after my Cars and Cafe. What happened here?
Well, I think what happened was that the seller had kind of a come to Jesus moment. He's looking down the barrel of losing nearly $20,000. The car failed to sell at 42. Maybe he's sitting there going, I should just wait till spring and relist it, which is really probably what he should have done because this is just the worst time of the year, especially all the way up in Maine to sell something like this, I think. But getting a post-Hammer offer and accepting it, even though it's still a $10,000 loss, that was probably the smart move to go ahead and take that number, because that's still a really high number for one of these. Looks like he's got some cool cars in his garage there in Maine as well. But all that
Maryland.
said, I mean, look, we're talking about at the opening of the show. Should we be worried? There's some, most of the results of cars this week have not been good. A lot of cars aren't selling, and the ones that are not bringing the big money that we've seen. It's a bad time of year. People are really skittish right now. all kinds of reasons for that, and we can get into that if you want. But, I mean, I just don't think it matters. I think the bottom line is everyone's really skittish right now. There are some people that are just, they don't seem to care because Bitcoin's up and the, what do you call it? The Dow Jones is still high and everything like that. But other people are going, whoa, dude, the average car loan is $7,000 upside down on their cars. So when you're sitting there going, okay, the normie cars, none of those people can trade those in because they have to write a check. If you have a normie car and you go to the dealership and you want to trade it in on a new car, even if the rates go down, that's what everyone seems to be touting. Oh, the rates are going to go down. The rates are going to go down. That's going to make everything go crazy. It's like, is it? You're still going to have to write a $5,000 to $10,000 check in order to get a loan on a car if you bought one in 2023. I actually know this personally. I have a Macan. Anybody want to buy a Macan for 25 grand? I mean, the thing's worthless, right? So yeah, I think the seller was very smart and very shrewd to be able to cut his losses, get out of the car, and just move on and have the cash in his pocket. What do you think of the result, Deeb?
I'm shocked he didn't take the 42. I don't know why he would have thought he got anywhere near 60. And so my initial, read of the results is 42. And he said no. I'm like, he's out of his mind and he's being unrealistic. And then miraculously, he got 50 grand. I find it interesting that your take is he was shrewd and just took the 50. I think he's an idiot for not taking the 42, and he got dumb luck, stupid luck that somebody gave him $7,000 more for the car at 50. Man, this guy should be like absolutely breathing a sigh of relief that he got out from underneath this car. And
out of his own way. Apparently,
exactly. And in Maryland in the winter when there's like rain and snow starting to fall everywhere. I mean, let's just presume for a moment that this car is likely going to come to the West Coast. That's like $3,500 to $4,000 enclosed today at the end of October with Halloween at the end of the week. So this guy paid 50 plus another 2,500 to BAT, and then he's going to spend another, let's call it 3,500 to ship it. That's do the math for me. That's $6 grand. So this guy's paying $6,000. And then let's just presume he doesn't have a Montana LLC and he's going to put on a California plate. That's another 10%. So, I mean, this guy's in this car more than Chef sold it for. The guy in Maryland lucked out. Shrewd, I just don't agree with that. I think he got absolutely dumb luck. Just better than winning at this than Russian roulette. But, man, about the same odds, JP. Wow,
yeah.
He super fortunate.
Anthony up in Idaho from Our Smiths, our sponsor. He's mentioned it in the comments. He's like, that's 9/11 money, guys. There's a lot of options in the $60,000
buy a 40th anniversary for the original hammer price.
Could have. I think that car is not available anymore. All right, what do you guys think of the results of this beautiful Ghia? Oh, and by the way, I think the seller owes both Chef and you and I some money, because this car had no traction until Chef went on there and said, hey, that was my car, and talked it up. And then a bunch of the Nerd Herd went in there and said, hey, we saw the car on the Nerd Herd or on Bid Nerd. So I think that helped. I think that definitely helped the listener. Yeah. So happy ending for that guy. And he didn't even pay us. What the hell? We didn't get the sale.
Wait, Lucas, call this guy. Get us some money, will you?
Yeah, there you go. That's something for Bid Turns to do. All right, what's the next car on the list, Michael Deeb? Let's move on. What do we got?
All right, JP, a car that you and I would literally wrestle to the ground and fight for. If it was somebody was trying to throw one of us the keys, this would wind up in a full-on Greco-Roman wrestling. Check out the Wimbledon Green 1993 Porsche 911 C2 Works Turbo Look Cabriolet with a 5-speed manual, running as a premium listing out of Portland, Oregon by the good friends, our good buddies up at Grand Prix Motors. JP, this is very, very similar to the America Roadster that we had basically for 1 year back in 1992. This car, as a turbo look car, ran for a couple more years around the world. Our car listed here is one of those European market examples, touting, JP, a ZZZ VIN, which is common, a very easy way to denote that this was not a North American car. What I love about this car, JP, super low mileage, 18,000 kilometers, 11,000 miles. This is absolutely collector condition. And then you've got an out-of-range color in Wimbledon green metallic paint. And then it is complemented by an even rarer leather to sample in a matching Wimbledon green, supple leather upholstery. So, JP, you got a super collectible car, you got a rare European example, you got collectible miles, and then you've got a special wishes, just like wet dream. I mean, this guy probably spent, I wonder if we have the window sticker. I don't think we do. But I'm guessing, JP, the special wishes leather and then the accompanying paint and all that stuff was probably close to 20 grand, 15 to 20 grand back in 1992, which is in 92, you could hardly put $10,000 in options on this car. But if you went and asked them to build you something completely unique, oh yeah, Porsche would absolutely take your money and slow down your order. So super, super rare car. John, would this vehicle that they've had in inventory for almost a year up in Oregon, would it actually ring the bell in the fall on Bring a Trailer as a premium listing? This car should have ran in August in Monterey, coming off of its appearance, if I'm correct, at Air and Water, or the whatever it was, the Luftgekühlt that we all went to in LA. JP, our friends at Classic.com tell us that the America Roadster on average brings about $117,000. I thought this car would have a chance to get to about 240. You took the over at $250,964. Tony Rienzi really liked this car. His bid reflected his passion for it at a whopping $280,000. I don't think he cares about the weather, JP. And then JB from Hippie Sips was in studio. He liked the car, but he was a bit more bearish on his bid, just $215,000. Man, this guy JB is really good at this game. We got to stop having him on. It's bad for business. JP, our car hammered for $216,000 where it failed to sell on 33 bids. I believe, JP, that when this car was in inventory, I believe it was either listed at like $289,000 or more likely at $299,000. Grand Prix Motors has an incredible inventory of vintage Porsche cars. They tend to trade and deal in the best of the best, and as such, they typically have prices that reflect the top of the market or somehow slightly above the top of the market. This car being listed at 300 grand in their inventory represents a smidge over the top of the market, which is probably about $250,000. But this car is inimitable, and so that asking price isn't outrageous. The question is, and the thing that we typically talk about is, do we think they burnt the car by running it and having it fail to sell? The reality is, JP, listed Portland, Oregon, Metzger 917. I think everybody knows whose car this is. My guess is a little bit like we used to run cars on eBay, not to sell them at Hammer, but a marketing exercise to get people to pick up the phone and call you. And I kind of feel like that's what Grand Prix Motors did just here. So even though it failed to sell at $216,000, my guess is about a half dozen to a dozen people calling on this car this week going, hey, what do you really want for that thing? And now they can start to go negotiate with some people who maybe didn't see it when it was just statically listed in their own website. So, JP, what do you make of the result? That's kind of my take. It's very elaborate, but I don't hate the idea. You're just trying to prospect. What better way to prospect than they'll just run the damn thing on the largest auction site in the world? And if it doesn't sell, that's fine. You guys still own the car, and people will keep calling. So what do you think, JP?
Yeah, I mean, 600,000 unique visitors a week, I think, something like that. It's for $100 to get that kind of marketing. Why not? I'm kind of surprised BAT let them do it. I suppose they want a listing like this. Got to wonder what they let the reserve go for. But there was some people talking about how the underside wasn't that pretty, and I think I just showed you guys some pictures of what looked like a bunch of oil on the engine, but that's Cosmoline. So I think anybody that knows this car knows what these are and knows the difference. Did you see those pictures, Deeb?
Yeah, well, it's so funny, when Porsche sprays that stuff on there, it looks like mud, and as it ages, it gets nastier and nastier. But for the collector guy, and I'm in that realm. Not that I collect them, but I appreciate them. That is a thing of beauty because that is how it left the factory, and so it's just outstanding condition. To see a car that clean and covered in the factory mud, I mean, it looks like coffee stains, but man, that tells you that that's how Porsche put the protection on there so it wouldn't get corroded, and your car has a chance to last 300,000 and 400,000 miles without falling apart due to rust in certain areas of the world. So that this car is spectacular and probably deserves 300 grand, but I bet they sell that car this week for 275 or something and move on, and that'd be amazing to sell a convertible in the fall for $275,000.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, yeah. All right. What do you guys think of the results of this convertible? Do you think the sellers were just using BAT as a marketing tool, or do you think that they should have just taken the money? Let us know what you think in the comments, and let's move on. What was the next car on the list, Deeb?
All right, JP, the one controversial car we've had for a little while is this 2021 Honda Civic Type R limited edition with just 10,000 miles that was running last week on Cars and Bids. Our car is listed out of Salt Lake City, Utah on a clean Utah title. What was disclosed in the comments and created some of the fervor was the fact that the owner of this car rebuilt the motor and upgraded everything: turbo, pistons, clutch, tuning, exhaust, the whole thing. And then when pressed to say, well, who did the work and where are the receipts and, where'd you buy the parts from? This guy didn't seem to engage, at least when we covered the car, and disclose on the level necessary to build value in the modifications rather than make it look like maybe I blew up the motor and I had to rebuild it, so I just put, upgraded parts in there, which is essentially what people are fishing for when they start asking you questions as to why you modified a relatively new and already fast car with super low miles. Like, it kind of doesn't make sense. So could you please explain yourself? He didn't seem to do that. And so instead of just covering, last generation's best Type R versus the good money that this generation's Type R is getting, we wound up taking a deep dive in a guy who's not doing a great job listing his car on the second place platform, Cars and Bids. So John, despite having low miles and a rare car, would this car bring the money? Our friends at Classic.com tell us that this old generation of the Civic Type R typically brings about $34,000 in the secondary market. When I looked at Classic's, their little grid of results, the top 3 results, which were all in the mid-50s, were all limited editions. So I just kind of did a very broad generalization that limited editions bring about 20 grand more than the standard Type R from that generation. Our car was in the $30,000 range when we looked at it. JP, I thought it would fizzle out at just $43,000 and failed to sell at that number. You took the under at $39,999. Tony Rienzi took the under by underneath you at $39,000 even. And our good friend JB from Hippie Sips split the very thin margin between you and Tony, coming in at $39,450. And JP, I think you even said something when we got JB's bid that your 3 bids within $999 was the thinnest margin we've had for 3 bids on the show ever. And I think that holds true. We'll have to have an intern data search and see if that's legit. You guys were all right on the money, and I commend you for that. JP, you the closest, missing on Yahtzee by just $250. Our car hammered for $40,250. It failed to sell at that number, and neither of those two things are a surprise. What is a surprise, JP, is that this car, which is a desirable car, only got 7 bids. So Lucas sussed it out when he read the comments and found out that the people were pressing him for information on the mods that he made to the car, and he wasn't able to rise to the challenge, and it's not a challenge, by disclosing what they were asking for. And thus, the buyers and the money dried up almost immediately. And so none of these things are surprising. But my God, JP, look, you and I might not dig yellow, the McDonald's Shell Station, Type R special, but there is a market for this car, and it's $15,000 over where his car hammered from. But 7 bids tells me nobody in Doug DeMiro's audience wanted to do business with this guy. And that is kind of crazy. So, JP, what do you make of all of that result?
I don't think it's stretched. It's pretty obvious. This guy spent all kinds of money on way too many mods. This doodad and that gizmo, but he couldn't, get him. He couldn't spring $500 to get a detail. I mean, look at the dashboard on this thing. Look how gross this thing is. I mean, I was zooming in on
all
the
saliva
steering wheel. Yeah, it's all just kind of like vape residue. And God knows. I mean, it's like gross. It's like you need a bunch of like handy wipes to get in and out of this car. It just feels like sitting in a urinal or something like that. I mean, this thing is disgusting. And, not to mention, it's like, okay, dude, also spend another $500 on a decent photographer, because not just because the photographer will take better photos than this guy did, but because the photographer will recommend that they take pictures somewhere other than his driveway with oil stains all over it. Bro, what are you doing? This is just a wreck. There's no good video. This car is probably fun to drive. It's probably crazy fast, but
super fast.
It's got to be something else. But the video is just stupid. It's like a cell phone from another car for about 10 seconds. It drives by. It's like, yeah, okay, we see that it moves, but there's no romance. There's no showing you how exciting the thing is. It's just hot garbage. This thing was doomed from the start. What do you guys think of the results? I don't really want to talk about it anymore because it's making my eyes hurt. I feel like I need to crack open a Hippie Sips and just guzzle this thing to get through looking at this car. I'm over it. Let's move on. What's the next car on the list?
All right, JP, one last car to reconcile from the last show. I spotted this car. I just thought it was kind of cool in its own unique way. Feast your eyes, JP, on the 2010 Mazda RX-8 in R3 specification, which is kind of like their more performance-oriented car with better suspension, better brakes and tires, better wheels, a little bit of aero. Super cool car. 6-speed manual, JP, all stock, and just 10,000 miles from new. We have talked exhaustively how the young timer cars are having their moment. Radwood era cars from the 80s and 90s are absolutely crushing it. This car is kind of from the very next generation, being a 2010. And I wondered, as we took a deep dive on this car on Bring a Trailer out of Lakeville, Connecticut, would this car start to bring collector money? JP, it is worth noting that this car sold for $32,740 when it was brand new. Our friends at classic.com tell us that the average selling price of an RX-8, and that's all of them, they don't even differentiate them because these cars, most of them probably aren't even on the road anymore. Classic tells us that these cars are only worth $14,000 in the secondary market. I thought this car would have a chance to get back to sticker price, and I didn't think that meant it was collectible. I just think that just meant it was rare. And so my bid, $33,008. Your bid, a grand under me, JP, at $32,008. Tony Renzi was way bearish on this car at just $29,000 even, and JB from Hippie Sips was more bearish still at just $28,600. John, our car actually did okay, higher than all of us by a few bucks, hammering for $33,250, where it sold on 28 bids. It's the only one I won, but I mean, I really thought when I first saw it with low miles and having the R specification, is this car going to bring 45 or 50 grand? Are we going to start talking about RX-8s? That result tells me nobody cares. And no, we're not going to start talking about RX-8s. Anything to make of that result before we go to commercial break?
Yeah, I mean, this thing's basically Tron Ares right here. It's nobody gives a rat's butt about this car or that movie. The four guys that actually wanted one of these, they were there in the auction and they got all the money for it. So congrats. I think there's a value here. There's not a terrible car. I mean, those are great Recaro Sportsters. It's worth it just for the seats, I think. I don't get it. And I think you guys in the Nerd Herd are going to have to explain that one. Yes, Ben saying this is is a rotary engine. It's the last of the rotary engines, but the rotary engines are just kind of tapped out by the time they got this far. And this car's too heavy. They should have. I don't know why they didn't just make another RX-7. They probably could have squeezed another couple of years out of the rotary engine just because of that. But the RX-8, you can't. It's like going, oh, you know what would sell more 911s is if we made them more cushy and made the back, gave them bigger back seats and made it a Panamera or something like that. It's like, no, it's just, it's like, come on, what are you doing? Anyways, let us know what you guys think. We're going to go to commercial break real quick. We'll be back with more predictions right after this.
Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair.
All right, Our Smiths, fine. So I'm looking at my watch and it's telling me that it's time for predictions. Our first car tonight is presented, of course, by Hippie Sips. These guys, look at this. You guys got to try one of these if it's legal in your state. They are redefining social drinking with cannabis-infused organic beverages. I actually did finally try one of these. They are really, really good. I was hoping to have Buddha in tonight.
I wish I was there.
Yeah, Buddha was supposed to come in and tell us how, this morning we after Car Zoom Cafe, we went to Vicky's and Buddha, I was like, hey man, have you had the biscuits and gravy here? I haven't. And he's from the South, so he's the authority on that sort of thing. So he got the biscuits and gravy, and he was like, it wasn't so good. But I'm very excited for him to try the Hippie Sips because the one thing that he knows better than biscuits and gravy is cannabis infused pretty much anything. Look, their mission is to bring health to the party with flavorful drinks you can feel good about. So check out hippiesips.com, see if you can order them in your state. And you know what, guys? Would you guys do us a favor in the herd? Go to hippiesips.com right now because they can tell, right? You don't have to order anything if you don't want to, but just go to the website, check them out. Maybe go to their socials and say that, hey, we saw you guys on Bid Nerds. Thanks for supporting the show because really what they're doing is they're supporting you guys in the Nerd Herd. So thanks to Hippie Sips and of course our friends at Our Smiths. All right, let's get to predictions. What do we got, Deeb? This first car on the list is kind of interesting, huh?
Yeah, so listen, JP, just full disclosure, which I'm sure you're going to tell me after the show. Stop doing that. Lucas had no notes on any of the cars tonight, and the only thing he talked about was this 2006 Porsche 997 Carrera 4 Coupe with a 6-speed manual that's running on P-Car Market right now, saying, oh, by the way, that 997 is a really nice build, and that was it. And the reason why he said that is because somebody took a page out of JP's book and stuffed an LS3 in the back of this wide-body 997.1. JP, no more IMS bearing and all kinds of torque. This is the perfect car. Holy God. I couldn't help myself when I selected this thing. It really does look cool, and Lucas agreed with me. So now I can't wait to get your take on this, JP. There are all kinds of cool, subtle details to round out the build beyond what they did to this monstrous American drivetrain. I dig the wheels. I dig the GT3 front clip and rear apron. JP, I love the ducktail spoiler and the center exit exhaust coming out of the LS3. There's some brakes. You've got sport seats. You got kind of an aftermarket steering wheel rim. So the three twin spokes that come out are like 991 issue, but then they took and did a different ring around the steering wheel. I'm not sure that I like that. It looks a little too ornate to me, but I bet the thicker grip makes driving this car with all this crazy torque a hell of a lot of fun. JP, this is kind of a neat car. And I immediately think, why wouldn't you take a car this rare to BAT? And I think when we see a car like this, JP, I think it winds up coming down to the fact that by running on P-Car Market, this guy gets to, it's like the name your reserve tool. Whereas on BAT, they probably would have said 100 grand. And my guess is this guy's probably looking for 150 or more.
Whoa,
John,
really? You think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, whatever. Who knows what the numbers actually are? We'll find out here once it winds up in the deal tank, right? But JP, this is one of the great driving cars in the world, and now they've like pulled it out and done an LS swap. And you and I know firsthand that LS swaps can be absolutely stunning. Look how much fun it made an SC. Imagine what it could do to a wide body 997 with Bilsting coilovers. So JP, or Olin's coilovers, was that? I don't know. I'm going to go back and look. JP, I'll let you take it from here. This just looks like, yeah, it's Olin's coilovers. This looks like a hell of a lot of fun and a hell of a lot of car, no matter what the price winds up being. So, JP, you've owned one of these things. What do you see? Tell the audience what you see when you look at the build here.
Yeah, the build and execution looks pretty good. It's an interesting, like, look, the whole LS thing makes sense to replace 911 engines, whether they're air-cooled or water-cooled. I mean, it doesn't really matter. The fact is that, you know, the engines, when it comes to 911s, doesn't matter what generation, they're all crazy expensive to rebuild. So the difference, though, is that if you have an air-cooled car and the engine fails on an air-cooled car, and let's say you spend 35, 40 grand on rebuilding that engine, that will bring the car's value up, and you'll probably be able to recoup that value. You know, people will pay more for a 911, an air-cooled 911 with a fresh engine. A 997, the water pumpers, 996s, 997s, if that engine goes pop, which they do fairly regularly, you know, it's going to cost you $30,000 to $40,000 to rebuild it. But it is not going to appreciate the car. In fact, in some cases, it'll probably depreciate the car, oddly enough, because just people don't want it once the engine's gone. Even if the engine's been replaced by the factory, people still look at it as going, for some reason, this car is, you know, plagued.
Scarlet letter, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So looking at this build, I definitely love the idea. The driving video sucks. It does, you know, look, when I had mine and we sold ours, it's really important. We always say assets, so go ahead and drink, guys. I'm sure you guys are playing a drinking game whenever we say assets. You really need to sell how good a driving experience this is, because not everyone understands the value proposition. A lot of people don't understand that the V8, the LS3 engine is lighter than the factory engine that came in these. And you get way more power, and it's way more reliable. Yeah. And when it does break, it's easy to fix. They don't have a catastrophic Achilles heel like the M96 engines do. This car's got to be a lot of fun to drive, and I'd sure like to see a video demonstrating the true driving experience that this car could represent. There are a few things that I would definitely change immediately. The oil sump on the back, they make a lower profile one for these, but you can see how low this thing is going. On a 911 engine, you do not want that thing, you know, in the back of a 911, you do not want that oil pan that low. It is a problem. That's probably one of the biggest challenges when it comes to swapping an LS engine into either of the 911 platforms, whether it's air-cooled or water-cooled. But yeah, this car's neat. It would cost you a ton of money to rebuild, or not rebuild, but to build one of these now. That used to be the cheap thing. It used to be like, oh, well, instead of spending $30,000 on a new M96, I can just spend $15 or $20 on an LS3. But now LS3 swaps are darn near $30,000. So, but at least at the end, when you're done with the project, you have a car that has way more power. And I think we'll actually appreciate this car. I think this car could do well. But the big question is, like you said, Deeb, is the seller reasonable? Should the seller be worried right now trying to sell this car this time of year on the worst platform that you could possibly do it at? What do you think this thing will bring?
You know, JP, we had Anthony Vieira on the show one time when he was in Las Vegas with you, and he made a comment and had a take that you and I have been recycling since he said it, and that is that P-Car Market has trained their audience not to bid before hammer and wait to see what the asking price is and then begin their negotiations from there. And this car is a perfect example of how that's going to happen, because, again, I think the whole reason this car is running on this platform versus running on BAT, where it would, in my opinion, bring a lot more money, is because the owner felt it was pertinent to him to be able to protect his asset with probably an unreasonable reserve request, whereas BAT dictates the reserve, and they're not nearly as lenient as the folks are in Oyster Bay when it comes to issuing reserves. So with that in mind, JP, our friends at classic.com tell us that the average selling price of a base C4 997.1 is just $39,000, and they did not denote between automatics and manual transmission cars, which is part of the reason why that number is so low. Our LS3 swapped 997 C4 donor car with a 6-speed manual and now 420 horsepower and like 430 pound-foot of torque is currently sitting at $54,000 on 11 bids, and that car closes tomorrow. Initially, JP, I put 60 grand. I do think this car is going to bring considerably more money than that. I'm going to actually write $75,000 for my hammer price, but I still don't think 75 is enough to get it done. My guess is that this guy is actually looking for 6 figures, and so at 75, if I'm close at hammer, I think the car winds up failing to sell and winds up in their marketplace / deal tank / the chum bucket for 6 figures or more. That's what I'm ultimately predicting, is that this owner is looking for 6 figures for this car. There's a lot of expensive equipment on this thing. I don't think you could replicate it for less than 6 figures. So I don't think that the asking price is ridiculous if it's just 100 grand. If it winds up in the deal tank for 160, then yeah, okay, the guy's smoking hippie sips or something. But anyway, 75 at hammer, JP. We're at 54. It closes tomorrow. I know you're going to be more bearish than me, but how much so, John? What is your bid?
Yeah, I don't think as much as you're probably right that the seller is smoking something. I don't think he wants 100 grand for it. Nobody, I mean, 100 grand is like, GT3 territory when it comes to 997s. Maybe not 997, but you get a 996 GT, you get a 996 GT3 for around that. I mean, 100 grand is a lot. And I know it's expensive to do this swap, but this car's beat up. There's rock chips all over it. It looks like a great back road runner. One would hope that they'd have a little bit more realistic expectations, which is silly when we're talking about P-car market. I'm going to say it's at 54 right now. I'm going to say it gets another 10 grand. I'm going to say 64,997 and say
that's a good bid.
If it gets there, I think it sells. I think this is one that could actually happen. So, yeah.
I'm going to say this. If this thing sells for $65,000, you're going to be pissed you didn't buy it yourself.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to be stuck with this car. I don't. It's just not that. I mean, I'm sure it's fun to drive, but it's just... look, I mean...
What did we sell your car for?
Yeah, well, that one was like $85,000.
What did we sell your car for?
85 grand, but that one was 80 grand, sorry. But that was an air-cooled body, and that had a better transmission, and it had all... I mean... Bottom line, that was a air-cooled Kremer looking car, where this is just a run-of-the-mill 997. I mean, as much as I like 997s, don't get me wrong, they're just, I mean, a regular 997 just isn't that special. And, one thing that we forgot to ask, and I didn't see in the ad, I didn't look at it closely enough, did they retain the all-wheel drive on this build, or did they pull the front diff out? They did retain the all-wheel drive, which is interesting.
It all buttoned right up. They didn't make any modifications, basically. This thing fit right in there, and you've got, I think, the stock gearbox, the stock all-wheel drive system, and so there you go. Away, So I know that we had a very, very special gearbox in what was fabricated for your car, but if this car's got the stock, Porsche 6-speed, that's not a bad box either, buddy. I'm like,
it's fantastic.
I think you're light on this car. I just do. I think this is a really neat car, and it's just kind of a bummer that it's got crappy assets and it's listed here. I think this car, without blue calipers and better photos on BAT, truly could touch 6 figures, but that's my take. And I'm really measuring it against yours, which was a badass car, but it didn't have nice paint. You know what I mean? Like, your car was like really for the guy that like is outlaw be damned, like, let's go. And
but that's what's hot right now.
Just a bit more champagne.
Slant nose, 80s style. That's what people want, that style. And when you can back it up with the power and the drivability and the assets that we made, drink again. This car, I just don't think this has the fizz to pull much more than 50 or 60 grand. I mean, it's a 997. Look, at 100 grand, you could get You could get a .2997. Now you're talking about a real nice car that will hold its value. So
I
there it
just sold
is.
one that looked just like this for 106, and this
or you could get the
around
nicest
the car I sold.
Yeah, you could get the nicest 996 Turbo, which is a way better car than this thing. So, anyways, all right, we've talked about this car way too much. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Let's move on. We have a bunch of cars to cover, and we have made no progress with just the two of us. Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right,
JP. I know you're
speed rounds.
You love yourself a Viper convertible. But this is the Viper that I would be like, ooh, that's pretty cool. Check out the 2014 Viper SRT Viper TA 1.0. So the TA is for time attack. This essentially is like they gave the Viper GT3 treatment. So it got better suspension, a little bit of aero. I don't know if they had any more horsepower. Somebody who knows Vipers better than I do can tell you. But it certainly would have had a way uprated tire. And this was the car, the Viper, for the guy who like to do track days and might like to go out to Spring Mountain or here to Thunder Hill or something. Loved Vipers, but needed a little bit more performance if you're going to go carving apexes. These cars were really cool before they came out with right after this came out with the SRT treatment, where they went like full, aero and all that stuff, which is like the GT3 RS. But I thought this car had some like subtle touches to make it really cool. And these were kind of sleepers, where those other cars now are bringing $250,000. What would one of these bring? Our car is number 54 out of 93 TA 1.0 examples ever produced. It has just 9,000 miles and is listed on BAT out of Scottsdale, Arizona. It's currently wearing a set of aftermarket black wheels, and those wheels, JP, are HRE Performance. 18s in the front, 19s in the back. But the stock wheels, which are also very beautiful and black, come with the car. So you basically get two sets of wheels. JP, I just think these are pretty tremendous values. As GT3s are now $200,000, could you pick up one of these for a song and have really cool performance and an eye-catching car? And then you get to go domestic and, avoid all the tariffs. I'm just kidding. So, JP, what do you think of a Viper Coupe if you give it kind of the performance makeover a la GT3? What do you think? You like or no like?
Yeah, this thing is so cool in this color. I mean, this color is really tough to pull off, but this car is doing it in spades. I love this thing. I like Vipers, I'll admit it. I like the 3rd and 4th gen Vipers, in a coupe. It is just, it's sick, right? And it's manual. It's all the things that you want in an exotic supercar without the $350,000 price tag. But that's the big question, I think, when it comes down to any of these Viper variants. A Mark III is like a $40,000 or $50,000 car these days. Is this car, does it look special enough? Does it differentiate itself enough from the cheaper version for people to step up and spend the extra literally $100,000 more to get one? I think that the people that know these cars, they're out there, they're looking for them, they're looking to spend the money, but there's got to be fewer and fewer people that are into these. I don't know. What do we think it's going to bring? Such a cool car.
So, JP, my quick take is that your Viper collector, your Viper drivers are like the worst part of the collector Corvette market. There's so many special editions, and mine's got burgundy with beige interior, and it's one of 3. And these guys with their lawn chairs and their signs about how special their car is. This car panders to them from a production standpoint. It's number 54 out of 93, and all 93 are orange. But what I dig, JP, is that the car is attractive and it drives better on both the road and the track without being too stiff to drive on the road and enjoy on our Overton runs or on the crest or out here on the coast or the wine country. So I really do dig the car, even though it kind of like the way a Boxster special edition would bring out the worst in a PCA member, a numbered Viper would bring out the worst in the Viper crowd. And that was all by design by the bean counters at, Chrysler or whatever, and good for them for making money. What's interesting, JP, is that the MSRP on this car was about $120,000. It is numbered. It is fair miles. It looks to be in excellent condition, but it gets real interesting real fast because the TA 1.0s typically bring $165,000 in the secondary market. Our car closes in 2 days and it's sitting at $115,000. $777. For whatever reason, JP, call it the government shutdown, call it that it was raining all day today, call it that Thanksgiving is right around the corner. I don't think our car is going to reach the classic number. I think it's going to hammer for just $155,000. The question is this guy going to be satisfied with that and let it go at my number, or is it going to be what probably I think is a failure to sell at 155? I don't know, and it was a great way to open the show. Like, people are nuts out there, and this guy might be waiting for his ship to come in, and he decided to let somebody drive his Viper finally. But I think 155. I don't think it's going to make 165. Where are you at, JP?
Yeah, this is tough. I've got to be bearish on a car like this. In just anything that's this crazy rear-wheel drive this time of year, it's just not quite special enough to bring the big money in fall with people kind of fretting. Let's say that. I'm gonna go under you and go 145.
Okay.
So and I don't think it sells at that number.
It's a cool car.
Right. Yeah,
No,
it's a really cool
absolutely,
car, and it's definitely one that I'd like to maybe put in the collection at some point. But I don't know if I'd spend the extra money on. Well, I don't know. I haven't driven one. I bet it's pretty incredible. So, What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments, and let's move on. Let's cover some more cars.
All right, JP, really quickly, out of San Francisco on BAT right now is a 95,000 mile 88 BMW M6. This was the first year that the M6 platform was brought into the United States, and they only came in a small variety of colors. It was like black, blue, red. I'm not even sure if they made a white one, but red seems to be one of the more popular colors. This one, despite having 95,000 miles on the odometer, looks to be in outstanding original condition. Those wheels are bigger than the stock wheels, even though they look like the same BBS design. This would have come on 16s. This car has been treated to a set of 17s with a much deeper lip. And so I think those wheels look really good on the car. That's a nice little upgrade. These cars are proving also, JP, to be very collectible. Our car is currently sitting at $19,000 and it closes in 2 days. Believe it or not, JP, Classic.com tells it that this generation of the M6 bring $47,000 on average in the secondary market. And the car we're looking at here, despite the mileage, looks to be an above average example by way of condition and originality. It doesn't feel like at $19,000, this car is going to bring more than 47 at Hammer. So my bid is tempered just by reading the tea leaves. I would have thought initially, if I had seen this car at the beginning of the week, I would have thought this car would have brought 60. But just based on where it's at right now, I don't expect this car to triple in value at Hammer. So I'm going to say $38,000 at Hammer and say that it probably doesn't sell for that number. And that's a bummer because this looks like a nice car that should be worth at least 50 grand. But is it the time of year? Is it all the things we're talking about on all the other cars? What is going on that this thing is just languishing at 19 grand with 2 days to go? JP, man, it is rough out there. Where you at?
Well, I mean, it's not uncommon for BAT listings to double on the last day. We've seen it a million times, but that's more common with Porsches than it is with these classic BMWs. We have not seen classic BMWs perform very well, especially classic BMWs from this specific era. So I've got to be bearish on this one. I don't know why they didn't spring for the $25 to replace that stupid BMW logo on the one wheel. It's just little stuff
Before
like that.
you shoot.
Before you go take the pictures. I mean, that's just kind of like it's chintzy, right? It's one of those things that makes you go, what else got skipped over, and what else was neglected on this car? It does look really nice. It reminds me of my old friend Derek Tanasalachai. Rest in peace. When we met him, his dad, Sonny, on the Targa Baja, his dad Sonny was driving one of these, and DT was driving his dad's 911. So that's what it always reminds me of those two guys. I miss them terribly. Your bid is what, 39?
38, which is essentially doubling where we're at in 2 days from now.
Yeah, I'll go
38, JP.
38. I'll go $36,006. I don't think it sells at that. I think this guy wants more for it, and again, it's just unfortunate. Yeah. I just don't think the BMWs are doing that great. Great car though. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Yeah. Looks like the nerds are a little bit more optimistic on that car. All right, what's next?
Yeah, but it's at 19. It's got a ways to go. JP, our good friend Kevin, the photographer, sold that black SL500 not that long ago. He recently shot this beautiful little 1966 single-family owned Mercedes-Benz 230 SL. These cars are nicknamed the Pagoda. JP, he shot this car for the client, so it's not his listing. The client is listed themselves, but he shot the car up here in Marin County, and I saw the car, and I thought, man, we haven't done one of these in a while. It's got a 4-speed automatic. It's got the factory hardtop, and it's been in one family and is sitting on its original California black plate, which is a very cool period correct piece to add to the listing. So just a neat little car. And it's interesting because these 230 and I think the later ones are 280 SLs, values can be all over the board for these things. So condition and provenance and records really drive the market on these. And I do think the manuals bring a little bit more money than the automatics. But here's a neat little car, JP, and our friends at classic.com tell us that they typically bring $55,000 in the secondary market. Our car is currently sitting at $33,500, and it's got 3 days to go until it closes. So I like the $55,000 classic.com average, and I feel like this car has a chance to get right into that same neighborhood. So JP, my bid for Hammer is going to be $50,000 even, so $50,230 at Hammer, and I think that it should sell for that number for an automatic at this time of the year. If they say no and my bid proves out to be correct, I say they're a little foolish. So where are you at, JP, on the car?
Achingly beautiful car. You stole my exact bid. I was going to say 50,000 230 SL. Dang it. So I'll go lower. I'm going to go $49,230. I'm going to park it right under you. Take the under. This is just a pretty car, and the photographer did such a great job. That's going to help it. This car, I think, if it had the same kind of assets as the car that we were just covering before, the M6, I think this car only struggles to get 40. Wasn't there he goes? Wasn't Pagoda the name of the guy in the Royal Tannenbaums? Anybody remember the?
Oh my God.
The Indian housekeeper in the mansion that stabbed. Yeah, no, I love that movie. Anyways, there he goes. That's the great line from the movie when Pagoda ran out. Okay, let's move on. What's the next car on the list?
All right, quick shout out to Chris Carbine and Ann, who are hanging out with Mario and Sarah down there in rainy Alabama. Welcome, Mario and Sarah, to the Nerd Herd. I understand that Chris Carbine and Ann are forcing them to watch the podcast tonight. So we are going to with the last few minutes we have, JP, Carbine currently has 2 cars listed for sale on Cars and Bids, and we are going to check them out really quickly. The first one is a 2018 Porsche Panamera. This is a base Panamera, but this is right after the new generation of the Panamera. Our car is listed out of New Orleans, Louisiana, and is looks pretty stunning in this burgundy red metallic paint. It's got the black dashboard, but then the luxury beige interior with black carpets. This is a very handsome car. A 3-liter turbocharged 6-cylinder engine makes about 330 horsepower. Our car has just 27,000 miles from new and is on a clean Louisiana title. JP, our friends at classic.com tell us that the average selling price for a base Panamera in the secondary market is $35,000. Chris's car has fair mileage and an attractive colorway. It might be a bit polarizing, but for the guy who doesn't want a black one, he might pay a little extra for this. So my bid is going to be $36,000 to you. JP, what did you think when the Panamera got a makeover? They really did improve the overall appeal of the car. Did it get too techno with all that taptic buttons and stuff on the, what did you think of this car when they got the makeover?
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise I'm not a huge fan of these. They are great driving cars, and yes, it was a huge improvement in this generation. Look, the fact is these depreciate horribly. Never buy one of these new. This is the way you want one. This car is basically a new car. This thing was $130,000 new, something like that. So you're going to be able to get this car for almost $100,000 less. Yeah, I think someone's going to get. I'm just going to stay with the whole pessimistic thing tonight and just go under your bid. Your bid was 35. So I'll go
36.
Oh,
I was
36.
I was
Then
36.
Yeah, I'll go 35 and just say it's a beautiful car. 35 grand. Even if you wind up having to pay 40 grand for this car, geez, you're getting $100,000+ car with super low miles. Can't beat it if you're into this sort of thing. This other car that he's selling too, this is pretty interesting.
Yeah, almost every Panamera at that time was over 100 grand. This particular base model was just 94,000 at sticker, but still at $35,000-$40,000, it is an incredible value. And Karmann's reputation as one of the best sellers on Cars and Bids at the moment, I think almost ensures, and plus these assets that he's doing right now, they're really, really such a big improvement from what he was doing before. I think this car has every chance to get to the
elevating
retail.
Yeah, he's elevating Cars and Bids. Cars and Bids needs to just say, look, if your listing isn't as good as this, get off the platform. All right, what else is he selling?
Absolutely. All right, so this one might be more appealing to you, JP. It's a 2021 Lexus LC500 convertible with a big old V8, a touring package, and this car has been in the South its whole life. This particular car is a little younger than the Panamera, but still only has 21,500 miles on a clean Louisiana title. So you got a 5-liter V8 with an automatic 10-speed, 21-inch wheels and a limited slip differential, 471 horsepower and 398 pound-foot of torque. It's a damn Japanese muscle car, and it looks like a pretty elegant cruiser. My push-pull with these sort of Lexus is that they look really, really sporty, but they're still very luxurious. They lean towards luxury and less towards sporty. That's why I'm a huge fan of the LFA, and I still don't understand why you don't get that car, because, it's like Clark Kent finally put on the cape when he did the LFA. So here's the latest, hot car from Lexus. And our friends at Classic.com tell us, JP, that these things bring $82,000 in the secondary market. This one's got a few miles on it, and it is a convertible in the fall. So I'm going to be a bit bearish on this. I think that this car has a chance to retail for $78,000 when it closes here, JP, tomorrow. We're currently at 59 grand on 17 bids. Sorry, I should have put that out there.
Yeah, I'll go under you again, $75,500. Unlike the new Porsches, Lexuses don't depreciate horribly. These cars tend to hold their value. These things aren't super common. People really like the Toyota, the luxury Toyota product. This car isn't really me, but for Lexus in general, this is a pretty darn cool looking car. So I think he'll do well with it. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. It is time for us to get the heck out of here. Check out bidnerds.biz if you want us to help you sell your car on any of the auction platforms. That's BidNerds, a happy ending for every auction. And of course, we've got all our swag available at the link in the description below.
Look at those posters.
Dude. They are. So Aaron Water opened up a shop right here in the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So
go to the Aaron Water Instagram page, and you can be able to follow the opening and all the sales and stuff. It's really great assets there. It was kind of fun to see Rochelle do her thing.
Yeah, so we're excited about that, and her grand opening will be at the same time as our big Cars und Creators that we're doing here in the Container Park on the first night of SEMA. That's November 4th. So if you're coming to Las Vegas for SEMA, we're going to do a really, really cool, really special event here in the Container Park.
Awesome, JP. I can't wait till you make that official announcement of how big the show is going to be, and it'll be really cool. I've got tons of man bracelets that need to come down and get some, Aaron Water and Rochelle's attention. Servicing. Yeah, I'm going to get some servicing. So there you go, JP. I'm excited. That was a great show. Happy Cars und Cafe Sunday. Thanks to everybody that helped put both of our shows on. And a shout out to Chris and Mario.
Have a great week, guys.